I was like, man, that looks uncomfortable.
Yeah, that looks, yeah.
Really empathised for Oolok's character at the end because of this sort of sweeping romantic music, and I was like, this is so confusing, like, why am I into this? Ich bin bereit.
During my screening of the film, I wrote down the words fear and eyes.
Yeah.
Because the movie is incredibly frightening and all of the characters, especially your characters, get to look truly terrified. How do you both approach these intense scenes, and how do you recreate visceral emotions like that take after take?
Well, you know what? Robert Eggers has a really specific way of working with you as an actor, where he sort of strips away all of your habitual, like all the habits that your facial expression normally falls into, things you've been doing for years and years without thinking about it. And he sort of strips it back, very much sort of imposing sort of less is more thing, which kind of works really well in elevated horror, I think, because it means that if you're doing less with your face throughout the film, then when you have those moments of pure terror, it goes from sort of 0 to 100 in a way that really captures that true moment of terror. So like I think Aaron and I both did this thing where he'd always say, like, please try not to use your eyebrows, try not to blink too much, just keep it really still, and rely on gesture, rely on the way that your costume's making you feel, rely on the language, the words that you're speaking. But then I was interested when my character has that moment when she's watching her children, and he was like, now you can turn it up. And it was kind of from like, I suddenly really understood what it's about. And watching the film, I really understood what it's about.
Yes, similarly, I think, Robert everyone's very contained, and the emotions are very sort of, pushed down, and so that when, you're taken on this journey and it starts to build, these characters just start, exploding and coming out, and I think that's the suspense through it. It's with the performances as well, which was great because he had his eye on the whole cast being that way, so that it's not, someone's not, it was very contained, it was very wonderfully done, very calculated.
The marketing for this film is very ambiguous and has some of the best trailers I've seen all year. And what fascinates me is that Bill Skarsgard as Count Orlok is almost completely kept out of it, and it makes his character seem even more scary. A bit like the shark in Jaws. Without giving too much away, what were each of your reactions on set when you first saw him in full makeup?
I was like, man, that looks uncomfortable.
Yeah, that looks, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's intense. Sticky. It's like head to toe, full prosthetic, sticky. Sticky. Yeah.
I didn't really have many scenes with him in that respect, so to be fair, I didn't see him in the full garb, but...
I think one of the times I was on set with him, in a scene, one of the first times, he was in half prosthetics and then just like a tracksuit, which was really funny. Yeah.
Jaron Blashke's cinematography for this film is truly brilliant, like showing some of the intense fear in the characters' eyes with impactful close-ups. From your own perspectives, can you describe what makes the relationship between artists and the DP so special?
It's like a dance, I think, especially in this. It's like really choreographed. There's like this sort of symbiotic relationship where sort of like you both have to work together, and I think especially working with Rob and Jaron, more than other projects I've done, there has to be a real awareness of how both the camera's movement and your movement is impacting each other.
And they definitely have such a rapport and respect for one another because, time didn't really become an issue or a factor, which it usually is. I mean, and they strive for perfection, both of them. But in order to get certain shots, there were times when, there'd be a whole crew like moving an entire wall behind the camera just so they can get through, and then putting it back again so when it came back round. So things had to like be taken. It was such a huge, when Emma talks about it being a dance, it like literally was, the camera was like the main centerpiece, like the lead of the movie, and we were, puppeteered throughout. So Jaron's very much a part of this movie, and he's like a character in the room.
It's phenomenal work. He's incredible to watch.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Also, the film score by Robin Carolyn is simply incredible.
So good.
I think it's one of my
Another
best.
character.
It's one of my favorite scores. I think I've seen.
It gave me chills all over my body.
Super exciting.
What were both of your emotional reactions seeing your own performance set to score, and what did you learn from that as an artist going forward?
I think so when you see something put together with a score, especially like this, when it's horror, and like there's a particular relationship I think with sound and horror. Like soundscape is so integral to those moments that terrify you and building that suspense. And I think also what the score did for me with this film, which I didn't expect, is it emphasized the romantic sort of nature of Ellen and Orlok's relationship in a way that really threw me. I sort of really empathized for Orlok's character at the end because of this sort of sweeping romantic music, and I was like, this is so confusing. Like, why am I into this? Yeah, it's incredible. It's a most amazing score.
Wow.
Yeah, it's wonderful when a score can elevate the material that you're working on, like you said, like a performance. Like you feel like you're giving your best and doing your best for the director, and then there's a life that goes beyond that in the editing and the choosing, and then when they add the score, it's like it's like bringing in empathy on such a level. You know, it's wild.
I love that. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I love the movie and I can't wait to see it again.